the recording started, and then I'll do the little show thing, and then after that, you guys go.
Okay.
Hey!
Hey!
We're here with Blue Knight Nathan and his partner Anthony. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
So, can you guys do like a little introduction? Tell me, I know you have a shop and like a little bit about yourselves.
Okay, I'll go first. Or you want to go first?
You go first.
Okay. My name's Nathan, or a lot of people may know me as Blue Knight on YouTube. I've been on YouTube for about 11 years or so now. I run a shop. I am a pagan witch, self-taught, really, mostly. And let's see, I said I'm running a shop, cunningoutcreations.com. Yeah, and then we do a live show every other weekend called Drunken Divinations on my channel. So there's that, which you can find just by typing in Blue Knight as it is here. I'm also on all the social medias as Blue Knight as well. So, yeah. And this is Anthony. We've been dating for what? We're working on year 5 now.
Wow.
Yeah. So go ahead, Virgo.
My name's Anthony, and I kind of help a lot with Nathan when it comes to moderating on his Drunken Divinations. A lot of advice and stuff behind the scenes when it comes to a shop. And so I'm kind of there, but just behind the scenes when it comes to a lot of things.
Yeah. Sometimes you tell me when I get orders, you're like, "Hey, did you see your order?" And I'm like, "Oh, no."
Yeah, it's pretty much the same role my partner plays. So, all right. So, you guys are you both pagans? I assume, or no?
I am pagan. You are. What are you?
I'm more agnostic.
Okay.
I'm still kind of like in my journey when it comes to all that.
Uh-huh.
Used to be a Christian, but because that's how I was raised and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really bad church, very Pentecostal, very hardcore, and so that just like repulsed me to far from anything like that. But I'm not atheist or anything. I do believe in a higher power, but
right,
still working on the logistics of all that.
Religious trauma.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I grew up the same way. I grew up Christian. But do you think that having so many Christians be kind of judgmental is kind of what pushed you to start looking, or what did push you to start looking elsewhere?
Essentially, when it came to Christianity, the church I went to and the people practicing it were essentially practicing it the worst possible way that you could. Christianity is about love, about kindness, about, loving thy neighbor. And they were basically the complete polar opposite of that. Either you believe in God, believe in Jesus, or you're going to hell. And, it was just literally religious trauma at its finest.
Yeah.
It pushed me away so much. Just, my breaking point was when they finally said, gays and people who are homosexual are going to hell. I literally stepped out of the church and I just went home at that point. So I was like, nope, can't.
He said, "No more free pizza for me."
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Nathan? Did you have any of that experience too, or?
So for me, I think that I'm going to be honest. There were a lot of things that I believed as a child that I didn't know had names or were actually a thing with other people. I thought that I was just a quirky kid,
Yeah.
Like reincarnation. I've always deeply believed in reincarnation, not knowing what it meant. Magic, spirits, earthly spirits I've always experienced. So I've always known that there were things that Christianity did not explain or did not like.
Right.
I was also raised, I mean, our family wasn't super religious. So I wasn't raised in the pews or, brought up in church. But we did attend church from time to time. It was more of like a relaxed Baptist type of deal. But I knew early on that, this wasn't the path for me because there were things that just didn't make sense to me.
Right.
So, yeah, a little less traumatic. I would say that, I mean, there definitely has been moments where it's like, okay, but less with the gay thing and more with the witch thing, because I stepped out of the broom closet, if you will. Some people don't like that term, but I stepped out of the broom closet early on, very young. And I was researching things very young that, kids probably should not research. And some of my videos describing how I started my path, I think I've even mentioned that, like, I would list like the Salem witch trials names and dates in a list, or I would just doodle like, people being burnt at the stake, not out of like a morbid fascination, but just out of like, that's what I was researching at the time. And I would get in trouble at school for it, obviously. But
how old were you when you were
like 11, 10, 11.
Okay.
I was a little young. To be drawing people being burnt at the stake.
Well, I mean, my daughter's 9 and she started researching some of that stuff on her own. So
yeah, I mean, it happens. But so more of my, I would say, the getting backlash from people from the church was over the whole witchcraft thing, the looking into witches, because I was also very, we'll just say innocent.
Right.
So I would just talk to anybody about all of my interests, no matter who it was. So I didn't understand, obviously, as a kid, like, you shouldn't talk about witchcraft in Sunday Bible school.
Do you have any, as a young child, did you have any experiences that you remember of like memories of a past life or seeing earthly beings here or experiences like that personally?
So not so much memories when I was a younger child. For me, so like I said, I've always believed in reincarnation. For me, just my child mind, I remember thinking to myself, this can't be all we do here. Yeah, like it does not make sense. I have always told people that I didn't think I was going to live very long. I tell him all the time, like, I've already lived past my personal expectancy for this life. So like, I'm good. I'm like, whatever I do now is just a bonus, right?
Yeah.
But, I always thought I would die young in this life. There were some things that I experienced, like just being really sickly as a kid, especially in like junior high and stuff, that I thought, well, maybe this is like a past life, like regression thing. But I never really went past with research on that because I was just like, I don't want to know. There was one of my earlier spells we did do with a few friends. We did like a past life regression thing with a mirror. So I got to see some imagery from a past life, but still no memories. So
that imagery, because and I've talked to several people and I can understand what you're saying, like with thinking that you don't have much time here. Like I was sickly as a child and my health issues, there's some of them recently, but that seems to be the common along several of the people I've talked to recently. So in the imagery, did that corroborate any of the stuff you were thinking?
Not really. So the imagery was really just facial imagery. So actually I could recommend, it's a Scott Cunningham book that you got the spell from. It was either Earth Power or Earth, Wind, Fire, Water. Was one of his two like elemental folky spell books. And I think it was called a far memory spell. And it's basically where you light a candle and you chant, basically get into trance, and you're supposed to be able to see your past life's face and maybe even dress, stuff like that. It really depends on how far in you go.
Right.
But as a teenager, we were chicken, so it's kind of a creepy spell anyway. I mean, you're in the dark, you're sitting there in front of your mirror that you just blessed, and it's like, when you're a teenager, you're like, okay, mirror spell, my first time. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's kind of like that middle school Bloody Mary thing, that all the kids did,
Very much so. Yeah.
But that's interesting because kids in Catholic school all do that, right? So that Bloody Mary thing. So, I mean, as far as your viewpoint on the higher power, and I know, like, I had some religious trauma, and obviously I know Anthony did as well. But as far as your viewpoint on I guess God, what would you say about that? And
I love this conversation. I'll
I
start.
know, I'm sorry, it's like kind of some.
No, I love this stuff because, to me, so how I describe deity is usually like a crystal, like a cut crystal, a crystal point.
Yeah.
You can look at the crystal from one direction and you see one thing. But if you turn the crystal another way, or if you look at it through the light or in the dark, you're going to see something completely different. So to me, deity has always been a lot like that.
Right.
So, and that's how kind of in my path and my spiritual being, I kind of explain the whole, differences, but also similarities in different cultures, right? A lot of people hack it up to aliens, and you can hack it up to aliens, but I could sit here and I can say, well, aliens are just another facet of the same crystal,
Yes.
I mean, it really, to me, deity or God is going to come to you with the messages that you need to hear, but they're going to come to you in a form or in a symbolic way that you are comfortable with, or you're more likely to listen. They're not. Hopefully, they wouldn't come to you as a spider if you're arachnophobic,
Right.
because then you're just going to run off, And I think I've told you before that, you look at cows and cows are very intelligent creatures,
Yeah.
Do you think a cow is going to have or think of God as a humanoid figure when more than likely they're going to know that they came from a cow? So their God will probably be a cow. That's just my opinion on it. So, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, think about it. Animals, some who are intelligent. I watched this TikTok about this person who read up on elephants, and literally how they have this ritualistic kind of thing where they grab sticks during the full moon and in a circle wave them about. So like these, it's everybody's got to believe in something, and there is something more to.
I think elephants are a better example than cows.
Like.
But it's true. I mean, there's literally an elephant religion. They've proven this.
Yeah, so. I saw something about that, which is interesting that they do that with different, like at the full moon.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you talk to medical professionals, and I know you have medical professionals in your background, like you talk to any medical professional, they will tell you stuff goes down on the full moon.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and that kind of goes into like just kind of reading energies. And I think everybody feels it, whether or not you're Christian. I think a lot of times they call it the Holy Spirit in Christianity. The energy they feel. But so I know you guys have talked about maybe having a child together. So with your collaborative experience, or like, adopting or whatever, however you would want to do that, with your collaborative experiences, what do you think is important to let that child be exposed to, not be exposed to be able to kind of find their own pathway?
So from just my experience, and when it comes to like raising kids, I'm very like nervous. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very nervous.
You're never gonna be ready. I've had
I mean,
so.
and that's just apparent, because that's just obvious to me now, because it's like, maybe younger, I thought, yeah, I want to have kids, but now I'm like, ooh, I don't know. Am I ready? Should I wait longer? How am I gonna teach them this? Like, what's the best way to say this?
Mhm.
There's often times where I'm like thinking in my head, like I'll see something on a TV show and I'll be like, do I agree with what they just said to that child? Do I agree? But as far as religion goes,
We've had full-length conversations about that.
we really have, yeah. And we continue to every so often. But to me, as far as religion goes, I think it's really important to allow them to be adventurers in that sense, I think. I think that it would be better if, because there are some things that are just, there are some things that maybe should be kind of like reined in as far, I don't know, like, okay, we'll take the Bible, for example, Christianity, for example. There are some things in the Bible that I wouldn't necessarily think everybody would want their children to read about
Yeah.
from
Gomorrah.
a very young age.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, that's a great example, actually.
You know.
right.
Yeah.
Ooh. But I think that if we can kind of hold our kids' hands as we kind of walk them through, but that's also very difficult because you also don't want to be biased at that point too,
Right.
But I think that it's important that they are allowed to explore, but also be able to share with you their findings.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that I didn't have when I was finding that witchcraft was a real thing. I literally printed out a huge packet from the internet and handed it to my mom. I put it in a nice folder, and it had like articles for your parents, what witchcraft is, what it isn't. Mind you, I'm like 11 or 12 years old, and I'm like, Mom, I think I want to do this. And just from reading the word witchcraft and Wicca, she was like, no, not in my house.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I'll do it outside. So that's what I did, But I think it would have been a lot more helpful if I would have had somebody say, okay, let's look at this together. Because that's really what I was hoping for. And at one point, I basically just kept telling my mom, like, no, I'm still interested in this. No, I still want, this is what's right for me. I really feel this is what's right for me. And I kind of like broke down her walls a little bit. And I would like discuss things every so often with my parents mostly my mom, to like break down those religious walls or those automatic, like, nope, does not compute.
Religious fears, more like.
Right.
Yeah.
And eventually, it went from, no, you're not doing it in my house to, well, can you at least do some research on other religions? And I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
But all that did was prove my point even more, because I'm like, oh, well, what they do is just like what they do. And what they do is just like what they do. So really, it's all witchcraft.
It's all the same.
Right.
It really is. I mean, that's kind of when you look at it. So if you look at, Christianity, for example, versus deities, you have this head person and then all these extra deities. How is that any different from God versus angels? I mean,
or saints.
Or say, yeah, exactly. So it it's just it's kind of the same thing in just different forms, like you said, like the different views.
Well, and we joke around too because we talk about, people in the Catholic Church and the
Mhm.
different rituals that they
Yeah.
do, and we're like, how do you not call that witchcraft?
It's incense and a lot of the similar type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The blood of Christ. And I'm not saying that they're wrong or right, but
No,
it's
definitely.
very similar.
And obviously, when I say, well, that's witchcraft, I'm not meaning that as an insult, because
No.
that's my thing, like I have a cousin who, well, a good chunk of my family is Catholic, even though I wasn't raised Catholic. I often, I sat in, one of my older sisters did the christening
Mhm.
with her kids, and
Mhm.
I went, and I was just looking at my younger sister, and I was like, this is witchcraft.
It's the same thing. It's so similar.
They have a circle where the altar is, and they have
Right.
these big nice candles and some nails,
Mm.
cross nails in the candles,
Oh, I didn't realize that.
and they were anointed. Well, this church did.
Okay,
And
sure.
they were anointed. They had oils on the top, and in the nails obviously had oils, because you could see the different colors dripping down from the. It was very beautiful, very similar,
Right.
very similar. I said, I would like to get some of these candles.
Well, and that's why, all these ceremonies and rituals that people in the Catholic Church do, I wonder why it's so taboo to hear and the word witchcraft for whenever you're doing just the same kind of things but in a different name.
Right.
It's so bizarre
And
to
I
me.
think that that's also why it's so easy for people who practice granny magic or Appalachian hoodoo or voodoo to be able to intermingle, from different sections of either the pagan side or the Christian side, because in a way they are so similar. You can just mix them up and
Yeah.
get a nice little pot of deliciousness.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at hoodoo, they use the saints and stuff in a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know where I'm at and where you grew up. Anthony, did you grow up in Ohio, or were you
What's that?
the spirits
Those are the dogs.
intervening? Oh, okay.
Yeah, right.
There's the dogs that run.
I think Rosie was getting irritated with Harper.
Oh,
So where'd you grow up?
what do you mean?
Where'd you grow up? Are you from Ohio? She asked.
Oh, I was born in Central Florida.
Okay.
My mom started out Catholic herself,
Okay.
and then ended up just kind of choosing her own path on the Christianity route, and she went full Pentecostal. She
Okay.
thought these were good people, and they were at first, but they eventually started getting more and hardcore,
Right.
and to that point, So when it came to my parents, they were very distant, so I just kind of left to my own devices. And that's why I hope whenever we have kids that we're the opposite. I'd want them to feel open to be able to come to us about anything and everything, just for the sake of having what we didn't, because at the end of the day, children are going to have the whole world, to be able to explore because the internet, it's a thing,
Yep.
more so now than ever. There's so much information out there that that's why I want to promote as much openness as I can with our kids, so that way if they do find something that's just like way out of left field, like that they'll be able to come to us about it and ask questions, and we can kind of break it down for them.
Yeah. Nathan, did you have anybody that like you had that you could go to? Like I know in this area there are blurred lines a little bit more with like the Appalachian, like
So, as far as Southern Ohio goes, I was actually very surprised to find, as I got older, exactly how witchy, for lack of a better term,
yeah.
Ohio can be. So, for the most part, the only people, when I first started looking into witchcraft as a religion or a way of life, or however you want to put it, I had my friends from school that I would talk to. There were some people online that I was able to interact with and learn from who lived nearby. Lainey Weaselby, if you're out there still, hey girl, I appreciate you. I hope you're doing well.
I see you.
I see you. I don't, but I hope you're doing well. So online forums and everything were a big part of like me learning because in Southern Ohio, you know, I tell people a lot too that a lot of the books that were made available in the 90s and early 2000s, they would disappear from libraries. And,
Yeah.
you know, so it was difficult to get your hands on things unless you had money to purchase things.
Right.
So the internet was a big help. My friends who also happened to pick up some things like Brianna and Mark, we would all share resources. We eventually formed like a little study coven, sort of, kind of. Like it wasn't a real coven. We were just like study mates, but for witchcraft, you know, fun stuff. And we would meet in parks and discuss the different books we read. One of us would read Buckland's big book, and then we'd pass
the big
it
blue
off.
book, right?
Yep, the big blue book. Or we'd get our hands on another book. Brianna would get something from her stepdad at the time, who was also a practitioner. And he would say, you guys should read this. And she'd read it. And we'd just pass the books right on down the line and so on and so forth. And eventually we met in a park and had like a little meeting, and we were planning on going to our first like event, which was like a pagan pride cookout / yard sale type of thing. They were going to do like a live auction and do some charity work while they were doing it. And we planned on going, and we were discussing it, and somebody in the park actually heard us discussing it and walked up to us. You would think that you drop your head, but you would think, but he walks up to us and he goes, hey, did I hear you guys right? He was with his daughter. And he said, did I hear you guys right that you guys were planning on going to this event? And we were all so terrified at first that nobody said anything. And I just spoke up and I was like, yeah, we're thinking about going. Have you heard of it? And he's like, yeah, but I wouldn't go to that. And I'm thinking, oh, he's going to start preaching to us, or he's going to say something. And I was like, oh, well, why not? And he said, well, I've actually been there, and it's not as good as they make it sound on Facebook. He said, if you're interested in something like that, you should go here instead. Also, have you been to this temple in Chillicothe? It's really nice. It's ran by this lady named Lynn. And I'm just like, no, wait, let me write this down. What? And his name was Lance. Lance, if you're watching, hey. So he kind of opened the doors for all of us to really find a community in Southern Ohio. So from there, it's history. We did Wicca 101 or 101 classes. Yeah. And did a lot of open circle and stuff with that temple before it had to be shut down. But yeah.
So that stereotype most people think of, and that's why I dropped my head, because people think, oh, these kids meeting in the park, they see, you know, these scenes, these demonic scenes. That's not what it is. I mean, how would you kind of explain your, like, the setting? And I guess in that, like, I know you said you're
having study groups.
I mean, like, it's not this demonic, awful thing that people think it is. And as soon as you say that, I want to break. And that's the only reason I don't like the word coven or witchcraft, because as soon as you say that, people have this taboo idea and they think it's something completely different, and that's not what it is. And
what is so sad though too is I can say witchcraft is A, but you can say witchcraft is B, but somebody on TikTok will say, no, neither of those is witchcraft. This is witchcraft, you know. Kind of like Christianity, you know. I mean, it's like an umbrella term, really. But as far as describing the scene, usually we had notebooks, maybe a candle. Sometimes we splurged at the Dollar Tree and had multiple candles. But I mean, so there may have been some like, this is weird if you walked by, but that was very rare.
Right.
Usually we would just take turns and meet up at each other's houses
Mhm.
and just spend like maybe 10 minutes on going over different prayers or like a Bible study
Right.
session, only not the Bible really.
Yeah.
Going over like religious text in terms of relating it to nature rather than, you know, the Christian God, I guess. Um,
So you
that
told
day that we were approached by Lance, the stranger at the time, we weren't doing anything witchy. We were literally just meeting up to hang out and sitting under what do you call those? Like
shelter house, maybe.
yeah, like a picnic shelter,
Yeah.
And so it wasn't adherently witchy at all, other than the conversations we were having.
Right.
Uh, and he just happened over here. So
When you refer to the term witchy, and you mentioned like nature, and that's really what a lot of it goes back to is.
literally, yeah.
So yeah, explain that a little bit. Like,
So when I say witchy, and some people don't like that term, but it's just a simple play on words.
right.
So when I say witchy, I'm talking about things related to my craft and witchcraft, like nature worship, crystals, incense, candles, moon work, spirit work, that sort of thing. I
Right.
could say this is witchy because it has zodiacs on it, and I like to work with with zodiac symbols.
Yeah.
So really that's what I mean. It's not there's no sacrifices or anything that like that, unless you're sacrificing something like money.
Right.
You might sacrifice some coin to do something for a spell, or you might
You
sacrifice
call that a tithe at church.
you might sacrifice
Right. Yep. Yeah. It's so similar. It really
very
is.
similar. You might sacrifice your time to do charity work, or what have you. That
Mhm.
sort of thing. That's the only sacrifices we make here, really.
Yeah.
Maybe some food. We sacrifice food for our bodies.
Food, libations, maybe stuff like that. Yeah.
We were very big on cakes and ale during our
Mhm.
study groups. We would trade off on who got the drinks and who got the foods.
Mhm.
And just because some people like to make stuff, some people like to buy stuff.
Yeah.
So there was one time we had two people who the three of us still, I think there were five of us total. So Brianna, Mark, and I still talk to these people every now and then, but I don't think they would consider themselves witches. But
Right.
they were part of our study group just because they were curious and they asked if they could be a part of it. And we were like, sure, come on. And one weekend it was like a Bieltana gathering, I think, that we
Mhm.
did. And they had gotten these Dollar Tree sand buckets and made dirt cakes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that was bomb. That was their cakes for the cakes and ale. So it was pretty cool.
But Anthony, do you s- find how like growing up? Sorry, there's not in my face. um, you said mostly Catholic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then your mother went to the Pentecostal. But isn't it interesting, the cake snail type of thing? You have the blood of Christ and then the wafers. Like, do you
That's
agree
why,
that that's
that's why I rack my brain at why witchcraft is such a taboo word when, like there must be some sort of blinders on these people that they don't see any remote similarities. And as a kid, I didn't really discriminate when it came to like different religions and stuff. But I was so sheltered, I never really got a chance to explore it until I really became an adult at that time. And even then, I was just like, where do I even begin?
You think maybe that's one of the things that you found with looking at other religions is they're more accepting?
Yeah, essentially, because my church, the Christianity that I was introduced to, was just purely full of like hate, and I'm like, this isn't something that I should be involved in or I even like, because they're just judging other people for what they do, for who they are, and you don't go to church, you don't believe in God, you go to hell. Like, what?
And
That's that
I want to, if
they
I
tried to scare
can,
people to go into there.
Yeah, I don't want to like make churches sound out
yeah,
to be bad, because
Organized religion can be kind of crazy sometimes like that.
it can be, but it's like I want to open their eyes to let them understand that if they were just more accepting and they preach forgiveness and love, right? And I wish they would practice that, because if they would practice that they and every church is different. Every church is different.
Yeah, oh,
definitely.
absolutely.
There's one in Chillicothe with a pastor named Terry.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Love Terry to death. He's awesome. He is awesome. And he and I would sit, we met through activism for LGBTQIA
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah.
And he and I would sit and have conversations all the time. He was awesome. So it's not to say that all churches are necessarily bad, but I think that unfortunately there are, it's just like with witchcraft. There's some bad apples in every bunch.
Yes, it's very true.
But in general, I mean, looking at Christianity, there are some things that set it up to be a little more judgmental.
Right.
The Ten Commandments have some things in there, like, no idols, that sort of thing. But an idol could be anything, really.
It could be a person, a celebrity, but at the end of the day, when it comes to Christianity, I read the Bible cover to cover before. I've taken the time to really think about, is this for me? And at the end of the day, on my own terms, I was able to kind of finally really say, maybe not. Doesn't mean this is a horrible religion. Does this mean everybody should practice it? No, but it just wasn't for me at the end of the day.
And I think that's why it's important for us, at least when we do have children, to be able to walk with them and take this journey kind of not in place of them and tell them, but just to allow them to have their own journey, but also be there for them to express what they're learning, how they're feeling in said journey, you know?
So if your child comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm interested in this," are you the type of person that's going to go, "Okay, I'm going to go to church with you"? Or are you the type of person that might go, "I'm going to find somebody that believes in this particular church and let you go with them to experience it"?
That's a good question.
Well, first, of course, let's talk about it first thing. And then after that, if they want to go to church, I'll happily attend if it will make them more comfortable, just to have somebody there with them, just by having somebody's presence that's familiar to them. So that way it's not such a scary experience. Does this mean I necessarily believe in, Christianity and church and all that? Maybe not, but that means at the end of the day, I'm letting them experience it at the comfort level that they need to be able to go ahead and explore.
Does that mean you can go to the church and I don't have to? No, I'm just kidding. No, I will go to. I have nothing against going to church. I don't, because obviously I am not Christian. So, but if my child showed interest, definitely I would go.
Personally,
what I'm picky about is the church, of course, because you don't want to take them to this ragtag rough place.
But that's also why I think it would be beneficial for us to go. So that way, we could be like, okay, this place seems like a decent place, and then eventually, if they wanted to continue to go by themselves or with friends or, maybe other family members, they could,
Personally, what I did with my daughter, my older one, and my younger one now, was let her go with a family member or a really close friend that I knew.
Yeah.
Because the first couple times, because she wanted to understand it, and I was worried that maybe my own beliefs and my own religious trauma would affect her. And she was comfortable with them and was like, yeah, totally, Mom, I don't need you there.
Yeah. And that's beneficial. I mean, here, I don't know if we would have anybody that could do that here.
It's different for everybody, but
right.
That's awesome that you guys are so open and willing. So, I mean, families, they do. And families
the only thing I ask is if my kids want to be Christian or want to be Buddhist or whatever, like that's fine. Just don't throw away the Book of Shadows. Keep it.
Keep the family tradition.
That's all I ask. Just keep the Book of Shadows somewhere. I don't care if you never open it again. Just keep it. Because a bitch worked hard. Okay. And continues. And one day down the line, somebody may find interest and that could help.
I mean, you look at like kitchen witchery or like recipes. It's not that much different from that either. So what would you say to a family that's got a child? Like, you know, what would you say to your parents, I guess, when you were dealing with that, like as advice, what they should do to help you
explore a little more?
Yeah.
Let them be curious.
That's just life, is just being able to have the opportunities to be able to explore and, you know, find what you like, find out what you don't, because, you know, once they become adults, that's just a shock to their system when they see all these things, you know, react to all these things that they've never heard of, you know, and it's just, you know, better to let them wade through the water as early as possible. Otherwise, it's just ends up being rougher for them in the future. And I wish I had that.
Right.
And I would think that it would be easier to assess assess your child's safety.
Yeah.
If you were more involved, you know, I would rather my parents be a little more involved, you know, than what they were as far as that goes.
Right.
And I mean, I was lucky, you know, my parents, especially my mom, we were just discussing this morning. My mom was very open-minded. You know, I actually was very surprised and taken aback when I handed her my binder and she put up those walls of defense. I was very surprised because I was not used to that. But yeah, I think my advice would be just to be more open and allow kids to explore while you're assessing their safety, because safety is important.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
Safety is definitely important. And I just think that it would be easier to assess your child's safety if you allowed them to explore a little bit more.
And just communicate.
Yeah.
Biggest thing there.
Mm-hmm. That's something I've always thought was funny, even as a little kid, that a lot of parents are like, well, don't let my kids watch this movie, or don't let my kids do this or do that. And it's like, they're smarter than you think.
Oh, yes. Yes, they are.
They're a lot smarter than you think. Why aren't you not giving them the credit for, you know,
address the question
more than they let you on?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've got to make some videos about that. Oh goodness. So I know you guys do your drunken divinations and you're interested in tarot.
Yeah.
Where did that come into your journey with the tarot stuff?
Tarot. So I started working with tarot in high school.
Okay.
Obviously, I didn't know anybody who could buy me my first deck, so I went out and bought my first deck. Didn't bother doing any research on how to learn it. I just went out, said, this deck is pretty, and I bought it. Actually, I didn't go out. I ordered the deck offline. So I didn't even see the deck before I ordered it. I just saw the cover, and I was like, that's pretty. I want it. So I ordered the deck, and it was a beautiful deck. I think it was called the Witch's Tarot, and I think that they've done other editions of it since then, but it was a pretty deck. It was kind of menacing. I'd take it to school. I would. And I would play with it during lunch after I ate and stuff to try and learn. I was trying really hard, you guys. I really was. But it didn't stick. I eventually kind of fell through off of that after I discovered the pendulum.
Mhm.
And a lot of stuff was really intuitive for me. So I didn't think that I really needed a tarot deck there for a while. But recently, or right before Drunken Divination started, um, I thought I just it was I had COVID, I was home bored, and I was missing YouTube because I was living in Southern Ohio again, where we
Mhm.
were, and we didn't have any internet or
Wow.
cable or anything. And I
Yeah.
remember just sitting and thinking, and I looked at Anthony and I said, I want to do this. When we move and we have Wi-Fi again, I want to do this eventually. And he was like, that sounds like fun. I said, right? Like, doesn't it though? So we moved back to Florida. We got Wi-Fi, and then I think like several months afterwards, it was like June because we're coming up on a year of Drunken Divinations next month, which is crazy to think
It's
about.
wild. It doesn't
Oh
even
my
feel
gosh.
long.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's crazy to think about that. But I was like, hey, why haven't we done this yet? And he's like, I don't know. And I said, I'm gonna text Mark and see if he wants to do it with me.
Just on a
And he
whim.
was like, okay. So it was really more for me. The reason why I wanted to do it was more so because there have been witches on YouTube for many, many, many of years. And when I first started doing research, there were maybe a handful of people that were putting good information on YouTube. I mean,
Right.
look at TikTok now, and it's
Oh,
it's
totally.
very different and yet very similar to how witchcraft on YouTube was, because
Yeah.
there were a lot of things that would pop up with the keyword for witch or witchcraft or pagan or magic, but was it good information? Probably not. But now you can, it's like everybody is like a parrot almost. And I don't want to be disrespectful when I say that because I've done it too. A lot of witches content or a lot of pagan related content, um, or just nature worship content is this is my path. This is how I got started. If you're interested in doing it too, this is what you should do. Sometimes you get I did this spell and it went this way. If you want to do it here, you can do it this way or whatever. But there wasn't nearly as much like fun light-hearted
Yeah.
videos
Yeah.
involving the craft. And something that I've always liked to do are not necessarily DIYs, but just like craft with me. Hey, let's make this. Hey, let's make this. Because that's what I enjoy. I have fun doing that. But I decided I wanted to put more of that out, into the community. Less less this is how I do my path. You can do it this way too, which I still do from time
Yeah.
to time. But I just think it's more important to realize like, yeah, we're witches. Yeah, we work with energy, or yeah, we're pagans, but we're normal people and we need to have fun too, you know?
Yeah. Just really encouraging people to work individually and like work with the energies and nature
Right.
and whatever with whatever makes them comfortable and showing them you doing it. So in turn, you're encouraging them to do it in their own way, I
Right.
guess.
And,
Yeah.
we started Drunken Divinations and we're not professional tarot readers. I still don't memorize 90% of the deck, I'm sure.
I have to read a lot of them too. So
I mean, it's like,
yeah.
it's hard. You have to work with it for a while. So I think that Drunken Divinations kind of gives everybody
Fun place.
a fun place, but also a place to realize like, okay, we can make mistakes here.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a pro from the get-go.
Right.
Just work, like showing everybody, hey, we're still working with this. This isn't just something that you just do overnight. It's okay to fall down. It's okay to have moments of slow down or stop or take a break and then get back on the horse.
Do you find when you do things more intuitively, it goes better for you? Like if you just kind of like take down all of the rules or the way things are supposed to be done and just go full head on intuitively.
I would say yes. For me personally, yes. Yeah. I wish that everything could be done intuitively.
I know, right? Or that was even an easy process because it's hard to
Right.
like take all that stuff down.
It is. It is. And alcohol helps. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you're right.
But
Certain
honestly,
things do have like I do CBD gummies to just help me relax a lot of times, and it just kind of helps me get out of all the other stuff and reduce all of the outside noise.
right.
And
Yes.
Some of the best things in life come out of a whim.
That's true.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We wouldn't have moved to Florida nearly as soon if we wouldn't have.
We wouldn't have gotten together if you wouldn't have
Yeah.
taken a chance on
All
me.
right. So let me ask you this. How did you guys get together? Because I wanted to ask that, but
Just like that, it was a whim that he messaged me.
Yeah. So okay, first things first. Our relationship started off norm anyway, because I had already been seeing. I was dating somebody at the time for about 4 years, 5 years, and that somebody opened. So I was not. How can I put this politely and not hurt feelings? I was not. I was not your typical gay, right?
Okay.
So I say typical gay in air quotes because
Sure.
again, just like witches,
There's nothing typical. There's a lot of
nothing
gray area.
about anybody really, but
Yeah.
so a lot of gay men are very open in their relationships and very open with each other. A lot of them, not everybody. But my partner at the time was a lot more open towards having an open relationship than I was.
Right. Sure.
So later on in the relationship, cutting a story short, we were open to seeing another person together. And
Yeah.
Anthony was a person that we saw together. So I actually found Anthony on Instagram. We had each other on Instagram for a hot minute, for a while.
And you just messaged me on a whim. And
yeah. And I was like, hey, you want to hang out? Cutie, you want to hang out? And then that's history. So we were dating with our third person for about 3 years. And then that person started to, basically it didn't end well. And to put things nicely, we all kind of went separate ways for a while because I was still mourning that relationship, and we were still trying to figure out where we were. So then, long story short, we all went kind of separate ways in a way, and then we got back together. It was very emotional because, I still had the dogs at the time, and one of the dogs was his dogs, and he couldn't take the dog with him. And I was like, this is too much. We need to talk, because even though I was trying to like move on, like obviously I couldn't just drop my feelings for him. Yeah. So we started dating again, and history since.
So do you, I mean, I'm sure you're probably familiar with the term twin flame.
I am. I don't like it though.
I'm kind of, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but sometimes it feels like certain people are drawn together. Do you feel like it was kind of something like that?
What do you think?
For whatever reason?
We were drawn together?
Yeah, because the whole time we were apart, I couldn't stop thinking about you. Every minute of every day, I can't not. Like, it could be the most, like, regular of things throughout the day. I was expecting to see him right next to me, or something as simple as brushing my teeth. I expected to see him knocking on the door or whatever like that.
To irritate you.
But it just and I thought, oh, this would end in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
And it never did.
It just never ever did. And it was to the point where I was even having dreams of him almost every night, and eventually I was just like, this is the person I'm meant to be with, at the end of the day, because the more I tried to stop, the more it just kind of was.
It got worse.
It got worse.
Yeah. That's so sweet. I mean,
so for me, when I say I don't really like the twin flame thing, so I've heard maybe two different versions of the twin flame theory. One is that, it's like a soulmate and they are you're part of the same entity in a way, spiritually, and you've gotten separated and then you find each other again. But I've also heard the explanation that is very similar, but that it can maybe not be a good thing that you guys are together. Like maybe you're together, but the heat is so immense that it causes chaos in your lives. So that's one reason why I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. I don't really like the term soulmates because people change, People grow out of each other. Things change,
Yeah.
But even if you look at our situation, and if you want to, you can break it down to just the most mundane, not so spiritual thing. You and I have shared more than anybody that I've ever dated before. So I think that just on a spiritual level and on a mundane level, things just work better. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just
I can physically see the I don't know the energy between you guys.
Well, we joke about it too. He almost knows what's on the top of my head, and I'm like, can you please get out of my head for a second?
That's the thing.
So do you think that being open to everything is what kind of helped you guys with that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because
I don't think anybody could get on an intimate level without being open.
We literally know everything about each other, to such a granular level, because we just talk and talk and talk.
Some people don't like that though.
And
so
I understand it, because I didn't like it for the longest time, because being open means you have to be open with all the things that you hate about yourself.
Be vulnerable.
That's scary. That is intense. That's scary. That's, a lot of things you bury down, that you don't even want to mess with, that you have to be vulnerable with somebody else with, and hope that they don't take it and do something with it.
Not that we're professionals or anything.
No, but I mean, looking at that, if you look at a lot of relationships, like the quintessential perfect relationships, right? They don't have that. So, I mean, looking at that, do you think that's something that I personally think it's something that would be helpful to be parents. Do you think that would be something that make you good parents? I do. I think that's beautiful, amazing.
I often say, and I'm sorry, parents, if you see this later on down the road, I'm sorry. I taught you. But I think that I kind of wish, and I've told my younger sister this too, I said, I kind of wish our parents would have sat down before they had children and been had the conversations you and I have, okay, well, if they want to do this, or if this is a deal breaker, and this is, get on the same page before you have children. I get it. Sometimes children happen when you least expect it to, but it would have been nice if they would have at least gotten together beforehand. And because my parents had two very separate ways of parenting. Very different ways of
clashed,
parenting.
Apparently.
Yes, that clashed and still clash from time to time, because they think that even though we're adults, we still need parented. But that's a whole other thing. But yeah, my mom was very open, was a very open, very communicative person. That's why when I handed her my binder, I was very surprised when she put those walls up.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the other hand, my dad was just like, oh yeah, he's into black magic. It's whatever. And I'm like, no, Dad, that's not what it is.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, the different backgrounds, is that something that you think like kind of brings you together? Or, I mean,
What do you think? Good
Um,
answer.
in a sense, yeah. Like we both know where understand that those different parenting styles, and we've grown above what that was because the last thing we want to be is that same parenting style for somebody else, because
yeah.
kids deserve the most everything, and I want to embody what my parents couldn't give me.
I think that's every parent. Every parent wants to embody,
But emotionally, like not just like
not just materialistically, but also
Exactly.
emotionally and spiritually. And I think that it's important to balance it too.
Yeah, because that can also become toxic, in
Yeah.
a sense too. You do so much that you almost neglect your child. That can be toxic, that thought process.
Or you neglect yourself, in
Mhm.
turn neglecting your child.
Mhm.
Or
Exactly. So there's always got to be a balance somewhere.
life
And
balance is hard.
It is,
Oh, it's so hard.
and it's work. It's not. It's literally work every day to live a normal life, do the normal mundane things. But that's just life, and you just gotta make the best out of the smallest things.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said. I would say the same thing. I think that our different backgrounds help balance us. It also helps, you and I are also very open-minded anyway, to where we're so open to learn from each other. I think every now and then I give you a hard time, but
There's
it's
got to be that one person in the relationship that kind of like it's got that spunk and gives the other one a hard time once in a while.
he gives me a hard time too. Don't let him fool you. Some of the things he does from day to day, you would think, oh God, but no, he's quirky. He's fun. But yeah, I mean, I think just being open towards each other about informing each other of different things, like me, especially with like politics and stuff like that. I don't search that stuff out because I'm like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
I don't want to know about other people. But he keeps me grounded in a sense that way, because he'll be like, did you hear about this? Do you know about this? And I'll be like, no, I don't look that stuff up. Why don't you educate me? And he'll be like, well, just read into this. And I'll go and, he grounds me and I look into things. And
Well, politics is just a depressing subject
well,
anyway.
it is.
It is.
I guess politics is a bad example, but you do other things as well. But that kind of keep me grounded, and we kind of help each other in that way.
That's a perfect interlude to what I was just getting ready to ask you is, so what's your day-to-day thing look like? Because a lot of people think, oh, people that are pagan, they do this and this and this, and like don't really.
Spoiler alert, my day-to-day is not necessarily a pagan day-to-day.
Right. So what's your day-to-day look like with, as a couple, or like, just your normal day-to-day?
So what do we do day-to-day? Let's see. On weekdays, we get up in the morning. You get up at what, 7:30? You get ready for your day.
Earlier than me sometimes.
I don't like it.
We both work from home, so thank the gods for that.
Yes.
So he gets up at 7:30, and our bedroom doubles as his office right now because we're in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
So he'll get up at 7:30. I'll get up at 8 because he starts at 8 on the phones and stuff. So I'll mosey my moon baby, my moon child doesn't like mornings. I'll, shuffle out of the bedroom at 8 so he can start work. And then I try to stay up, but
you go back to sleep. I'm right there
take
with
a nap
you.
on the couch, girl.
I am right there with you. Like the similarities between this relationship dynamic is like so similar.
Oh, I do not like mornings. I can't.
Me either.
So I'll come out here, I'll cuddle with the cats,
Yep.
and the dogs are still, asleep, and I'll take another hour and a half nap
Yep.
before I start my day. And then we're super busy right now, so you'll stop work, and we've been juggling a coding camp that we're doing to try and get better jobs in our company. So we're juggling that after work. Sometimes I will, depending on the day, because I have different things I have to do each day, as far as, okay, this day is a Drunken Divinations creation day. This day is a day that a side project day, because I can't talk too much about that.
That's all right.
Yet. So depending on what it is, if I can't go straight to coding, I'll go straight to that. Sometimes we get lucky enough to where we can watch TV for about an hour or two before we have to go to bed and get up and do it all over again.
But
weekends are really chill.
Yeah.
So weekends, like today, we slept till 10, which was really nice. Got up. And today, weekends are kind of in the air. But as far as like everyday pagan stuff that I do, it'd be very disappointing. I might clean the house and cleanse it.
Yeah.
He tells me all the time, you don't even cleanse the house. I'm like, actually, I do. You just don't realize that I do.
Yeah.
Like, I'll sprinkle stuff in the doorways or the window seals. If I feel it's really necessary, I'll salt the floors before I sweep and vacuum. Just different little things. Dusting is a witchcraft thing to me, because you're mixing the energies in the house,
Sweeping out the negative and old energies.
So that's a big deal to me.
Yeah.
There's small little like religious things that I do. I always put the same shoe on first, because I've got a charm in one of my shoes.
Oh, okay.
So when you step on that charm, it activates it. I mean, it's really not something that a lot of people would be like, ooh, I don't go to my altar every day and pray.
Right.
I don't.
Right.
I don't. My matron understands, because she's given me lists of crap to do. So I'm already doing the stuff that she asked me to do. I do, before Drunken Divinations, I do give her the first drink of the night, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no real big difference between my everyday thing and someone else's everyday thing.
Yeah.
Or anything that maybe, just the little things that people don't even realize, the things that make them feel better, like cleaning, dusting.
Dusting, cooking.
Right. Oh, that's a labor of love. And
definitely. You can add craft, add magic to your cooking.
Absolutely.
Just depending on the way you stir it, It's all about intention.
Intention. Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Your intentions. Yeah, absolutely.
And the way you work with the energy on what you're doing at that time.
Well, and that's why a lot of people, and when I cook for him or my kids or anything, they're like, oh, it tastes so much better when you cook it. It's the same recipe, but it's the intention behind it, But it's just, little things like that, but it's not anything crazy.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's, to me, it's great if you are a person that believes in a daily practice, like that's great. Good for you. I am a moon baby. I'm a Cancer. We ain't consistent. At least this one isn't.
I'm a Sag.
I am not consistent.
I am not consistent either. I'm all over the place. What's Anthony?
He's a Virgo. You're a Virgo.
Okay.
You probably could be consistent with something.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's probably more consistent than you are, isn't he? Like on a more maybe of a.
Oh, that's a good point. He makes the same breakfast every day.
Yeah. So he's got to have like this level of.
And it's not even like bacon and eggs. No, it's eggs in a basket. every
Oh,
single.
I love it.
We have bacon in the fridge. Will he make it? No. Eggs in a basket.
Hey,
Every
you know what? That's what starts his day off good then.
I just know how much time I have, and I know I
Oh.
timed it exactly to like the minutes how long this
Oh,
is.
that is such a Virgo thing. Oh, yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
I've tried to make other things, and it's like this takes way too much time. I'm gonna get yelled at, so I might as well just make the normal thing I make every single day, just because I have time to eat it and I have time to sit down and chill.
Have you?
deal.
Oh my gosh, that is such a quintessential Virgo thing. Have you done a lot? So, like, you've got the astrology behind you and stuff. I know we talked a little bit about the tarot and stuff. I don't want to keep you guys too long, but have you done a lot of work? I know you said you like working with the different signs. So, does that, yeah.
the
go ahead.
signs for me are a tool that I again believed in and used even from a young age.
Mhm.
My mom taught me about zodiac signs,
Right.
and
So,
so did my granny. So,
No,
that's something that I
all religions believe in,
yeah,
right?
I mean,
All of us.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's interesting.
And so, I mean, do I hold it to like absolute? No. But will I judge you if you tell me that, you've got a Gemini moon and you're an Aries? And I mean, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
But it's fun. It's a fun thing, especially when you work. I have done so. I'm really bad at money spells, but I'm really good at love spells.
I was just going to say you're good at relationship spells, aren't you? Yeah.
So, have I in the past done love spells and literally conjured somebody by their exact birth chart? Maybe. Did I learn the hard way that sometimes the things that you want are not necessarily the things that you need?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But,
Oh, yeah.
it's fun. It's quirky. It's my quirk, right?
So do you like weave that into your tarot stuff?
Sometimes, yeah. So for me, it was really easy to learn the major arcana. So
Yes. Yeah.
if I were to just work with the major arcana, I could probably pass as a pro really, really well. Maybe. But it was easier for me to learn the tarot once I started incorporating not numerology, but astrology.
Astrology, yeah.
I'm trying to like get the whole numbers thing, but that was something that that's a brick wall for me because again, there were things that I believed in as a kid that are a thing, but the things that I believed in as a kid don't necessarily line up with what everybody believes now when it comes to that thing. So I'm going to struggle explaining this.
Do you think it kind of blocks you, the stuff you believed in as a kid? It kind of blocks.
It makes it a little more difficult for me because
that's why it's important to let your kids not have those messed up, messed up, but like just solid beliefs and let them be open. But.
Right. But like for me to try and explain this and take my hand, we're going to go on a ride. So numerology, numbers mean different things.
Yeah. Yep.
I believed that as a kid, but I also believed the same for the alphabet, which is similar to like Germanic stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Certain letters and certain numbers already hold, like for me, 5 is a female motherly number. For whatever reason, 5 is that to me.
Okay.
But 5 may not mean that to the tarot.
To somebody else. Yes. So it means something different to everybody.
So like the number cards are really hard for me to like.
That's why I asked about intuitive.
Money.
That's why I asked about intuitive reading, because everything means something different. So like one picture may mean something to me. It means something so different to you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And yeah.
So definitely, yeah, intuitively it would be a lot easier. But just like you said earlier, bringing down those walls. And because to be completely intuitive, you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah, that's hard.
And it's hard, especially if it's a stranger, you know?
So have you done a lot of readings with strangers? No. Okay.
You learned the hard way from that one person, Paige's friend.
Okay.
That was funny.
That was
Have you found that the more people you are open to, that the more people, so like, you know, when you let yourself be vulnerable and say, I believe in this, or I do this, or I have, you know, I do tarot or have visions or whatever it is. Have you found that like you've experienced more people that are open to it than you thought there would be?
definitely. Every day, every time that I open up to somebody, whether it be a coworker or a stranger in a store, if that connection is made and I just open that up,
Yeah.
more times than not, I'm surprised each time. I recently told 3 coworkers about drunken divinations and found out that one of those coworkers is completely obsessed with mediumship and spirits, and found out that she is herself a medium.
I mean,
Wow.
Yeah.
how did I guess that? That was funny.
You're right. But and you know, so now, you know, at work we're sending each other IMs talking about the different stuff that we found out over the past weekend.
Right.
It's very interesting. However, there are also times where I'm like, I'm not going to say this to said person because I will look insane. Like working with a coworker, I was doing
Jim?
like factory work. I guess we'll just leave it at that.
Oh.
Yeah, it's close enough.
And you know, someone's dead mom is yelling at them in a language I don't understand, and she realizes that I'm staring before they do, and she realizes you're hearing me.
Right.
And she's like, you need to tell him this. And I'm trying to sit there mentally and go like, because if I tell them this, I'm gonna look crazy. So
Yeah.
no.
So how do you differentiate that? Because I've had that experience myself where I feel or hear or see something and somebody's very persistent. And sometimes I've acted upon it. And like I always tell the person, like, hey, are you open to this? Whatever. Like try to be like, how do you differentiate that kind of stuff?
I think you can kind of feel the difference in the person.
Yeah.
To start. Like this guy, obviously, so what was going through my head was, okay, he's clearly working.
Yeah.
He clearly does not want to be bothered. And if he's anything like his mother and how adamant that she is being right now, this is a mess I do not want to get myself into right now. If he does disagree, or does not have a good, but sometimes you can kind of tell with certain people. You know, it's like feeling the room almost, I guess. Yeah. If they seem open, I'll just, you know, typically I don't hide anything. If anybody were to ask me, you know, do you believe in this? Do you experience this? I'm going to be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But to me, it's just a little more difficult when certain things want to make themselves known and they try and rely on you to do it.
Do you feel like ever like you have a responsibility to try and make that connection between them?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Nope. Absolutely not. Because I am very big on boundaries.
Yeah. Sure.
Very, 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 very big on boundaries. And this is not something that you have to be born a certain way or with
everybody can do it.
Everybody can do it.
Yep.
Everybody can do it.
Every single person on the face of this earth can do it.
Absolutely everybody can do it.
Yeah.
And they do it and they may not realize they're doing it.
Yep.
And you know,
like when you hear that little thing saying don't turn this way, go this way.
Yeah, or the
Second.
ringing in your ear.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a big thing for me.
Mhm.
Ringing in my ears means somebody's yelling at me and I'm ignoring them. So do I want to keep ignoring them, or do I need to sit and listen?
Right.
Yeah, seeing things in the back and in the corner of your eye, in the back seat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Back seat all the time.
Deja vu.
Yep, deja vu. I mean, whatever. These are all, everybody can do it. But to me, I'm very big on boundaries. There are certain places that I do not want to be bothered, as a lot of places there are for bathrooms. Nope, don't come at me.
Good point. Yes.
When I'm trying to sleep, absolutely not. Don't
No
no.
intimate times, stuff like
Intimate
that.
time. Well,
Yeah.
sometimes we invite certain things in during intimate times, but
Sure.
yeah, you get the drift.
Mhm.
But again, there are boundaries, and these things have rules too. So if I am to respect their rules, they have to respect mine. And again, everybody is able to do it. So unless it's something super, super dire that somebody absolutely, he mentioned when you asked if I do a lot of readings for strangers, and I said no. I did a tarot reading when we first got
Moved to Florida.
Huh?
When you first moved to Florida?
No,
Even before then.
it was right before then, actually.
That's when you first got that deck. And
I was reading for my sister and one of her friends, and her friend knew that I was going to be. So we were at my dad's house, and my mom or my sister was like, "Yeah, Nathan's going to be reading. If you want to come over and have your cards read." And her friend was like, "Absolutely, sure." And her friend brought her friend.
Okay.
I didn't know her.
Right.
And I
Total
explained to
disconnect,
her,
nothing. Yeah.
yeah, I explained to her, she said she wanted a reading, and I was like, okay, sure. And I was like, but let me just tell you, I'm not a professional.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the best that I can, and we'll move on from there. And I think I often joke that when people ask questions about tests, for whatever, my Cancerian gets in the way, and I always think pregnancy tests for whatever reason. I'm like, well, this was one of those first instances, and I think that was
It's your instinct.
I guess. I don't know. But I brought up a pregnancy test,
And she
and
was pregnant.
and no, well, or was she? How did that? It was a weird situation. I brought up that, and then it went from that to a connection with the person that she was with at the time that she thought she was pregnant.
Okay.
But that person happened to have passed.
Oh, okay.
And the person that she was with at the time of the reading was a new guy, and her grandmother did not like him, and she had also passed. So like basically it turned into this weird thing that I was like, that she was like, yeah, or no, the grandmother didn't pass. The grandmother just didn't like the new guy, and she had talked to the grandma before getting there.
Right before going to
so basically grandma hijacked the reading without
grandma was in her head.
And was in her head, and it like opened up avenues. She literally took a nursing test and just wanted to know how she was going to do for the nursing test. But I opened this whole plethora and went down this road, and she just was right there with it. And she was just like, that's really weird, and not telling me anything or how awkward it was really getting. And I just kept going And then at the end, she told me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to you could have told me to stop. And she was like, no, it's fine. It's just really interesting. I'm going to definitely have to tell my grandmother. I was like, hey. Yeah.
So like, but have you had a lot of experiences that are like that? Or like that are spot on?
Over time, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, do I do it every day? No.
No, it's not a thing that you do every day, but like, and I think that that's important for people to know that aren't familiar with this. That's not the thing that, and you can't always control it.
Right.
You can't always control it. Like I have tried to hone in on stuff and I can't get anything. But then as I'm waking up the other day, I had a thing with my friend, and I'm like, there's something looming. You almost had an accident. There's this big black bird, but there's something. And she's like, yeah, I almost got this horrible accident. Like, my truck is in the shop. Like, I can't get their insurance information. And then she was like, then she called me the next day and was like, oh, that big black bird thing you saw? Yeah, this guy I started talking to had this big black bird tattoo on his shoulder.
Wow.
It's like, you don't get stuff like that out of nowhere.
No.
But do you find it frustrating?
Oh, yeah. I get in moments where I have deja vu sometimes, and I'll have deja vu about the deja vu sensation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'll tell him, stop what you're doing. Stop. We're in a time loop. Stop it.
Yeah.
Wait till it's done. Okay, now we're good. But
Right.
it's definitely frustrating sometimes. Absolutely.
Have you ever had anybody, like family members or friends, go like, oh, read for me, and you can't get anything, and then you randomly get other stuff later, and like, you know, like if you try, you can't get it, but if you don't try, you can't get it.
So, huh? USAA? Is that what you said? Yeah. With job stuff when we do readings for each other, you mean? Yeah. I think with
I
that.
want to hear what Anthony's saying, because a lot of times Kevin has a lot of really good stuff
Right.
to input on, like the stuff that he sees me do or say or experience. So I would love for Anthony to speak up.
What?
Well, to answer this question.
Yeah, I would really love for you to speak up, because like outside
not
looking
being
in.
connection, and then later on down the road,
Yeah.
it made sense, or
Yeah.
because it's kind of hard for me. Because for me, I know that like with the cards, it's not just a one path thing. You know,
Right.
it could mean several things.
Right.
Well, one thing I thought about was that you're trying to do a spell for me to help me out in my job because I was selling insurance and it was awful, hated it.
Oh yeah,
you know. But whenever I thought about it later on down the line, I aced an interview for a really great job, and it was that spell
Something different.
Spell could have easily applied to that in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe not right then and there, but something later on. Because I thought I just like bombed the interview. I didn't think I got it. And then, not even a week and a half later, yeah, congrats. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess this is happening. Just little things like that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it really, the outside perspective and the stuff that we may do and the stuff that, they see.
Right.
Is a pretty different perspective.
I could talk to the interviewer.
What?
Because I can't talk to people, but apparently I could talk the hell out of that interviewer.
It was the rabbit's foot, wasn't it? It's funny.
Well, it's interesting how things work out.
It definitely.
And where the energies go when you throw them out there.
Definitely. I mean, so, and something else that's interesting. So I can't think of a situation where someone was like, yeah, no, you're not hitting on this. But I think that's out of kindness too. I think if I were just like reaching for straws, it would be, because sometimes if you just don't get anything, again, I don't do it professionally. So
Right.
If I'm not getting anything, I'll say my piece. And it's really easy to just like say what a card means or say the feelings that you're getting and just leave it at that.
Right.
Because to me, I think it's less, if I do give someone a reading or something, it's more what they get out of it
than what you get out of it.
Yeah, than what I'm, portraying. So to me, unless there's like a huge message or something that I absolutely feel needs to be mentioned, then I'll just throw my 2 cents in and I'll say that could mean this could be happening or this could be happening, just as examples, so take with it what you will, but yeah.
Anthony, have you ever done any readings? Or are you just kind of the guy in the background still?
I have my own deck that he got me for my birthday. It was a really nice deck. I kind of play with it from time to time, just just to get a feel for things. Because I do consider sometime trying to get on Drunken Divinations and be a part of it. But I also feel that I should practice just a little bit more before I get on there. But I enjoy it. I like it. It's pretty interesting what
I
comes
don't
up.
practice that much. So.
I joke around and say that my cards are kind of mean because I get are way too like straight to the point, like blunt. Like I'm just like, oh wow, like I needed to hear this. But
he's done like one reading for me, and I was like, your deck is a mean girl. I don't.
All right, I'm gonna have to have him do a reading for me. I want to hear the mean stuff.
Yeah, we're thinking about you. Like he's mentioned, he wants to be on Drunken Divinations, and I'm like, okay. I said the only thing we got to work out is, what are we gonna do if we lose track of the questions? But we'll ride that out.
We can do one. We can pull one up, and I can have Kevin handle all that stuff. Sweet. If you want.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. He can handle that stuff. Like he's got that. I think like your energy between the two of you, like you feed off of each other so well. I would love to see that. Like I really would.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
We'll have to look at the calendar and put it up there. I'm telling you.
Yeah, definitely. He's right here. He can follow. Aren't you? You can follow the.
What are you volunteering?
Chat box.
The chat. Following the chat and the questions and stuff.
Yeah, I can follow.
Yeah. He's good with that.
There we go.
I love them as a couple. They're so sweet. And like I can't wait to see you guys like raise a child together. I think you would be so amazing and open and
it's gonna be so much fun.
It's gonna be
I mean, I'm serious. Like you can just really see the energy and the caring between the two of you, and like I just think it'd be amazing.
Oh, thanks.
And I am willing to be right here and tell you all the mistakes I've made with all of that.
Listen, that's something else too. Like my sister, she's raising 2 boys, and and that's again, like I said, I'll sit and I'll watch certain things either in TV shows or things my sister does, or things that her kids do, and I'm like, how would I explain and like communicate? Because to me too, it's like there's going to be a big challenge, with a child, a human that can't speak yet.
I can't communicate.
So I'm like, that's an interesting hurdle that we're gonna have to get over. But then I'm like, well, it's kind of like dogs, right? Dogs can't talk, so.
I mean, in the beginning, I suppose,
kind of like
beginning, but eventually they start being able to talk and express and
right,
get their own like opinions, and then they get very opinionated right around up. And then they kind of level off, and then they go, oh my gosh, I'm almost 18, I'm an adult, I know everything. And
that's exciting.
And then you're just like, oh honey.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be an
adventure. It's a fun road, and it's worth taking.
Yeah, at the end of the day, when it comes to parenting, and once we actually get into it, it's like I just want to be the person that's open to everybody else's experiences and what they've done, what they failed at, what they should have done, and now know after the fact. Because I think the worst thing, that I don't want to be as a parent is so close-minded to everybody else's opinions and thoughts. I know there's some people who are going to have their horrible takes on things, and
sure,
or just outrageous, like outlandish ideas that are just like, what?
Mm-hmm. But at the very least, you can't grow as a person if you're closed-minded, and that leads into being a parent, I think.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well said.
Thank you for coming.
Very well said. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I mean, do you have anything else that you guys want to add? I know you mentioned all your stuff at the beginning. You want to mention anything else that's going on?
Just check out Drunken Divinations every other weekend, which that's fun. keep your eyes open on the horizon for next month.
Sounds like you have something fun planned. I don't know what it is, but
There's a project that's going to rear its head in June. So,
Also, I'll be on Drunken Divinations.
yeah.
under
on Drunken
yeah,
Divination.
it'll be on Drunk Divinations, and that's under your sign. So in June, that's why it's coming out, right?
Well,
It's just ironic that that's when it's coming out.
yes, and I mean, there's reasons, but yeah, June. Keep your eyes open.
Right. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. It was
And
fun.
yeah, absolutely. And we will look forward to seeing Anthony on Drunken Divinations, right?
Yeah, and thank you for having me. And I'm never really on very often, so
I am so glad to have your opinion together and just
Yeah,
seeing.
usually he's sitting in the background making sassy comments, and I'm like, why don't you just come on camera and say things? Because that was funny, and I feel weird, like I'm not saying it right when I have to repeat it.
Oh yeah, I get that. All right, well, thank you guys so much, and we will talk to you guys later.
All right.
All right.